pleasure exists in our world? Maybe that's an odd question for you, but I want you to think about it for a second. Why do we enjoy things? Why is it that we have a sense of enjoyment, a sense of pleasure, a sense of delight in things? There's a whole host of pleasures people experience in this world, right? Food, sex, exercise, companionship, music, art, the peacefulness of a summer evening, a beautiful sunset. There is a myriad of things people like, things people enjoy. Why are they there? Why do they exist? And I'm not just talking about how these things can aid in our survival. We like to explain everything away with scientific facts, the different ways species survive. And please don't hear me just bashing science here. I love science. It's a fascinating gift from God. But there is more going on here than simply the survival of a species. People like to say, oh, we have a sense of taste because it helps us survive. It helps us know what's good for us and know what hurts us. Well, why don't we just have poison detectors if that's all it is, right? You get what I'm saying? Sure, our sense of taste does help us survive. I'm not going to argue with that, but there's more to it than that. If our sense of taste was simply and exclusively for survival, we would merely identify a substance as either harmful to our bodies and avoid it, or beneficial to our bodies and eat it. So Cokes and Twinkies probably would not exist, and there would be no enjoying food because of its good taste. We would simply, the only reason we would enjoy it would be because it helps us live another day. And food is just one of the many examples you can choose from. Once you get into more complex pleasures like beauty and art, it's really hard to see how those exist simply for the survival of the human race. If you believe that pleasure exists only for survival, I'd like to know how a well-written piece of music scientifically aids in my survival. Do you get what I'm saying? I mean, nobody stares at a beautiful sunset and says, oh, how this sunset aids in the longevity of life for my species. Nobody says that. If you did, people would look at you like you're crazy. First, because nobody talks like that, and second, because nobody is thinking about the well-being of the human race when they are gazing at an incredible sunset. They're just blown away by it. They're too busy trying to find words to explain the beauty that's in front of them. Isn't that sunset so pretty? Isn't it so gorgeous? Just look at all the different colors and all the different ways the light reflects off the clouds. We love it. We enjoy it. We take pleasure in it. If we were mere accidents, simply products of evolution, living in a world that was only concerned about survival and nothing more, I think people would be shocked to find out what a cold, dark, brutal, tasteless, and colorless world we would actually live in. But since that's not the world we live in, maybe we're supposed to be shocked and amazed that all the different tastes, all the different colors, all the different beauties and pleasures do exist. If they're not just solely for survival, then why do these things exist? Here are the reasons why I believe pleasure exists. First, so that God would be seen as great and glorious in his creating and sustaining of this world. And second, so that we would be attracted to God himself as the greatest and deepest source of all pleasure. Let me work through my first point and then move to my second. I want to start here with a passage from the Bible. The Apostle Paul writes in the book of Romans at the end of chapter 11, "Oh, the depths of the riches and wisdom and knowledge of God. How unsearchable are his judgments, and how inscrutable his ways. For who has known the mind of the Lord, or who has been his counselor, or who has given a gift to him that he might be repaid? For from him, and through him, and to him are all things. To him be glory forever. Amen." Listen, God owes us nothing. God needs us in no way. And in of ourselves we have nothing to offer him. He was not obligated to make us as pleasure-enjoying creatures, but he was kind enough to. He didn't have to make us taste food the way we do. He didn't have to make us in such a way so that we see all the colors we see and we hear all the sounds that we hear, but he did anyway. When we learn that every good thing is from God, it should compel us to worship and to be oh so thankful for even the smallest of pleasures. So God made pleasures so that his greatness and his kindness would be on display for us to see, and so that his goodness and glory will be made known in our enjoyment of and thankfulness for the pleasures that he gives us. Second, moving to my second point, I'm of the opinion that all of the pleasures, all of the things we enjoy in this life are mere pictures or foreshadows of the immense amount of joy and delight we find in God himself. And all the different pleasures and all the different joys in this world exist to help us look at and point us towards God. We see this type of language, this type of imagery throughout the Bible. Oh, taste and see that the Lord is good. Psalm 34. Are you thirsty, Samaritan woman? Come to Jesus, drink from him, and he will so satisfy you that you will never be thirsty again. That's from John chapter 4. Does your soul thirst for something? Is your flesh fainting for something? You come to God, and he will so completely satisfy your soul with himself, it will be like feasting on the richest of foods. We see that kind of language in Psalm 63. So we see this language in the Bible, this longing, this hungering, this thirsting for God, and we see that God satisfies those desires. So I believe all pleasure exists to point us like big arrows or signs towards God. So when we eat a good home-cooked meal of steak and potatoes or chicken enchiladas or whatever food you love, we're supposed to enjoy that so that it serves as a reminder, a foreshadow of the pleasure and satisfaction we have in God. We're supposed to think this way. So when you come in the house hot and sweaty on a summer day, dying for a glass of cold water. We're supposed to get that cold water, drink that water, enjoy it, and then we're supposed to say, oh, how much more life-giving and satisfying is God to me. When you're blown away by and stand in awe of a beautiful waterfall or a range of majestic mountains, we're supposed to think, oh, how much more am I going to be awed by God Himself when I see Him in all of His glory. Yes! I love this. I love these tangible experiences, these tangible pleasures God gives us so that we might better know and understand and enjoy Him. Now we as fallen, sinful creatures twist and abuse this gift of pleasure by just focusing on a given pleasure instead of looking to God and refusing to see God in that pleasure. We end up just staring at and taking pleasure in those big arrows and in those signs and totally miss what they're pointing to. Don't miss this. If you are merely pursuing the pleasures of this world as your main hope of joy, you will never be happy. If you're simply living for more entertainment, more sex, better food, a more fulfilling career, a nicer family, you will never be satisfied. You know why? Because those things are all limited. They are all finite. And our souls, our hearts are longing, are aching for something more than those limited pleasures. Those finite pleasures. Our hearts are longing for God Himself. God is not limited. He is not finite. He's limitless. He's infinite. He's everlasting and ever satisfying. So let's learn to enjoy the pleasures God gives us in such a way that it reminds us of the greatest pleasure, God Himself and Jesus Christ, the true bread of life. I'm Isaac Duggins on Life Matters. Thanks for watching. God bless. Thanks for watching this video. I have to say I really did enjoy this particular video. I hope it was helpful or useful or enjoyable to you guys. And I'm going to go ahead and pull the next question from the box here so we can move on with the next one. And it is, what are my religious beliefs? That one is too much fun, too easy. Okay, but we're going to be doing that next. It might be a little bit more in depth than my normal videos. Might have a little bit more editing go on into it, and hopefully a little bit nicer. But we'll see what happens. Thanks.
And you will love me like a mother, calling me with freezing baptism.